Have you ever noticed that your dog follows you everywhere? To the kitchen, to the bedroom, to the front door, sometimes even to the bathroom. No matter where you go, they seem determined to come with you. At first, it seems funny, maybe even a little strange. You stand up, they stand up, you walk across the house, they walk behind you, you stop, they stop, almost as if they're afraid you'll disappear the moment they look away. Most people assume there's a simple explanation: love, loyalty, habit. And while those things certainly play a role, scientists believe the real answer may be far more fascinating. Because your dog isn't just following you, they may be acting out instincts that have existed for thousands of years. Instincts inherited from ancestors that lived long before modern homes, long before cities, long before dog beds and chew toys. Back when survival depended on staying close to those you trusted. And understanding that story may completely change the way you see your dog. Because sometimes following you isn't just a behavior, it's a sign of something much deeper. To understand why your dog follows you today, we need to go back thousands of years, long before dogs became companions, back when they were wolves. In the wild, wolves lived in highly social groups known as packs. A pack wasn't just a collection of animals, it was a family. Every member depended on the others. They hunted together, travelled together, protected one another, and perhaps most importantly, they stayed together because becoming separated from the group could be dangerous. A lone wolf faced challenges that a pack could overcome together. Finding food became harder. Avoiding predators became riskier. Survival became less certain. Over thousands of generations, staying close to trusted companions became deeply embedded in canine behavior. And while your dog may never need to hunt for survival, those ancient instincts didn't disappear. They evolved, and today many dogs see their human family as their pack, which means something fascinating. When your dog follows you from room to room, they may not simply be being curious. They may be doing exactly what their ancestors were programmed to do: stay close to the group, because staying close once meant staying alive. But evolution is only part of the story. Because if instinct were the only reason, every dog would behave exactly the same way. And they don't, which brings us to something even more powerful: attachment. Think about your dog's favorite place for a moment. Is it their bed, their blanket, their favorite toy? Sometimes. But for many dogs, their favorite place isn't a location at all. It's wherever you happen to be. And researchers believe there's a reason for that. Over thousands of years, dogs didn't simply evolve to live alongside humans. They evolved to form emotional bonds with us. Bonds so strong that many dogs experience genuine comfort from our presence alone. In fact, studies have shown that a dog's stress levels often decrease when their trusted human is nearby. Their heart rate becomes calmer, their anxiety decreases, they become more relaxed. In many ways, humans can function as a source of security, almost like an emotional safe zone. This is especially noticeable in unfamiliar situations. Take a dog to a new environment. A busy street, a veterinary clinic, a crowded park, and you'll often see them checking where you are, looking back at you, following closely behind. Not because they're afraid of everything around them, but because your presence helps them feel safe. And perhaps that's one of the most remarkable parts of the human-dog relationship. Your dog doesn't understand your job. They don't understand your responsibilities. They don't know what kind of day you've had. But they know one thing. When you're nearby, the world feels more predictable, and predictable feels safe. But safety isn't the only reason your dog follows you, because sometimes they're doing something much more impressive. They're watching you, constantly. Most people don't realize how closely dogs observe human behavior. But your dog may know more about your daily routine than you think. They know what certain sounds mean. The sound of keys, the sound of shoes being put on, the sound of a food container opening, the sound of a leash moving. Long before you consciously notice these patterns, your dog has already connected them to specific outcomes. And that's why dogs often seem to predict what you're about to do. Sometimes they'll walk to the door before you have even decided to leave. Sometimes they'll appear in the kitchen before you begin preparing food. Sometimes they'll follow you simply because they suspect something interesting might happen next. Scientists call this associative learning. Dogs become experts at recognizing patterns. And because you're the most important part of their environment, they pay very close attention to you, your movements, your habits, your routines, your body language. In some ways, your dog spends a large part of every day gathering information about what you're doing, which means that following you isn't always emotional. Sometimes it's practical. They're curious, they're observant, and they're trying to understand what happens next. But there is another reason dogs follow people, one that has very little to do with instinct and everything to do with love. For a long time, scientists believed dogs formed bonds with humans simply because humans provided food. After all, if someone feeds you every day, it makes sense to stay close. But over the years, researchers discovered something surprising. The relationship between dogs and humans goes much deeper than food. In fact, when dogs interact with people they trust, something remarkable happens inside both brains. A hormone called oxytocin is released, often referred to as the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical associated with relationships between parents and children, close friends, and loved ones. In other words, your dog isn't simply living with you, your dog is emotionally attached to you. And that attachment can be incredibly powerful. Researchers have observed that many dogs actively seek physical proximity to their owners, not because they need anything, but because being near someone they trust feels rewarding, comforting, safe. Think about that for a moment. Your dog could choose any place in the house, yet they often choose the room you're in, the chair beside you, the floor near your feet, or sometimes right behind you wherever you go. And perhaps that's because, in their eyes, you're more than the person who fills the food bowl. You're part of their emotional world. But not all dogs follow their owners in exactly the same way. And understanding those differences reveals something fascinating about canine personalities. If you've owned more than one dog, you've probably noticed something. Some dogs act like your shadow. Others are much more independent. Why? Part of the answer lies in personality. Just like humans, dogs are individuals. Some naturally seek more social interaction. Others enjoy a little more space. Breed can also play a role. Certain breeds were developed to work closely alongside humans. Herding dogs, for example, were bred to constantly monitor and respond to human cues. For generations, their success depended on paying close attention to people. As a result, Many of these breeds remain highly focused on their owners even today. Age can matter too. Puppies often follow their owners because they're learning about the world. Senior dogs may follow because they feel more secure near familiar people. Past experiences can also shape behavior. A rescued dog that once felt abandoned may become especially attached to the people who earned its trust. And sometimes, a dog follows simply because they enjoy your company, which may sound simple, but it's actually quite extraordinary, because among all the people they could spend time with, they choose you. And perhaps that's what makes this behavior so meaningful. But before we finish, there's one final question. Why do so many people feel deeply moved when a dog follows them everywhere? The answer may tell us as much about humans as it does about dogs. Think about it for a moment. Why do people smile when their dog follows them from room to room? Why do they laugh when they find their dog waiting outside the bathroom door? Why does something so simple feel so meaningful? After all, your dog isn't performing a trick. They're not doing anything extraordinary. They're simply walking behind you. And yet, somehow, it touches us. Perhaps that's because, deep down, we understand what it represents. Trust, loyalty, connection. Your dog doesn't follow you because of your job. They don't follow you because of your achievements. They don't care how successful you are. They don't care how much money you have. They don't care what kind of car you drive. To your dog, none of those things matter. What matters is something much simpler. You are familiar, you are trusted, you are safe. And in a world that constantly changes, you are one of the few things they can count on. Maybe that's why dogs continue following the people they love. Not because they're dependent, not because they're incapable of being alone, but because they genuinely enjoy being close to someone they trust. And perhaps that's something many humans understand too. After all, don't we also seek the company of people who make us feel safe? Don't we return to those who bring us comfort? Don't we stay close to the people we love? Maybe dogs aren't so different from us after all. And maybe that's why this simple behavior feels so special. Because every time your dog follows you, they're making a choice. Out of all the places they could be. Out of all the rooms in the house. Out of everything they could be doing. They choose to be near you. And perhaps that's one of the purest forms of affection in the animal world. Tonight, your dog will probably follow you again. Maybe into the kitchen, maybe into the living room, maybe all the way to your bedroom. And when they do, take a moment to notice, because what looks like a simple habit may actually be the result of thousands of years of evolution, trust, companionship, and love. Your dog isn't just following where you go. In many ways, they're following someone they consider family. And maybe that's why, after all these years, dogs remain humanity's closest companions. If your dog follows you everywhere, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if you're fascinated by the incredible connection between humans and animals, subscribe to The Animal Connection. Because some of life's most meaningful relationships don't need words. They only need trust.